Welcome to the Estate Professionals Mastermind podcast. This community is about providing value first, and rather than having one interaction, one transaction, and one payday from the work you do, we're here to teach you to build so much more.
Welcome, I'm Bill Gross. Welcome to our Probate Mastery call. Also our let me get the official name, Estate Professionals Mastermind. Chad Corbett has founded Probate Mastery. I'm Bill Gross. I'm the host for our weekly mastermind. The idea being that for those of you and those of us who are building our real estate business, whether as a realtor or as an investor or wholesaler, it's a process. It's not a certificate. It's not a logo. Those are parts of it, but it's a process of building your business. And I know that I need to get together to share with professionals on the journey, best practices, victories, defeats, what's working, what's not working. And so that's why we had this call every week. That's why I attend every week. And then at one point, Chad asked me to stand on as the host. Just real quick, I'm going to share with you a couple of free resources that you want to be aware of as you build your business in the probate space. One is Chad Corbett's group. Well, let me start with his website. Probate Mastery is the basic course he teaches, and it's on demand. And then if you finish that course, there's also an earned course, which is how to get referrals from attorneys. And then I believe there's a package deal. Honestly, I don't know all the details on it. Search around there, find something for yourself. There's deals from time to time. They go out via email. You should check into that. Past episodes are here on the podcast, and you can search the content there. So for those of us who've taken the class, Probate Mastery Alumni is where I go and spend most of my time and post leads. I need somebody to refer somebody to another state. Here's where we look for that. You can see right here, brokers in New Mexico. Good place to share ideas and leads and such. And then separately, on my own, I host a program called probateweekly.com. It's every Thursday at 4 p.m. Probateweekly.com is where you sign up for that. That's free. And then I have a probate group as well. Probate Experts is a Facebook group. So again, those are mine, but Chad's basic program is Probate Mastery. And there's both an alumni call and an alumni group and Facebook for that as well to help you keep going. So here we are on the second Tuesday of the new year. We're up and running, right? We're taking listings. We're getting deals into escrow. We're getting checks. Yes? It's meant to be participative. So the more you participate, the more money you make. Not just complaining about the weather. I could do that all day long. But who's got a victory they want to share with us regarding your probate business? It doesn't have to be specifically you bought data, made a phone call, and got a listing. Anything in the probate space. I could share a couple, but I'm going to give you guys a chance. Who's got a challenge you have that you need to work with? And here's what I'm going to tell you. If you don't have problems, you're not working hard enough, because what's clear to me, the older I've gotten, and I'm old, I got gray hair to prove it, the longer I've gone in life, I've realized that more growth comes from failure than from victory. And there's pushing through those failures, it's learning from the failures, it's learning how to avoid those problems next time, which really helps us be better as professionals in the long run. So share with us. Feel free to put in the chat box or raise your hand on the Zoom application. Love to get you involved in that and share with the team things are going well. Anybody want to share something that is a big victory? Anybody? Bueller?
Hey, Bill, I didn't raise my hand, but I'll share.
Sure, Matt. What's going on?
Hey, so I got this is probably one of the craziest probates I have.
Love it.
I met this lady 3 years ago, and she lost her case and was not awarded the administrator of the estate. Her father's widow was awarded the estate. And the widow refused to sell the house, even though she only owned a third of it. The court finally took it back from her after the 18 months had expired, and it was awarded to my client. And then she hired me to sell the property, and we could not get the widow to move out of the house because she claimed she had nowhere to go. So after further court hearings, the court finally forced her to move, and she moved out. And when we got into the condo, it was a ground floor condo with a condo above it. We discovered that her father had created a man cave underneath into the foundation. And
Nice.
he had hollowed out underneath the home, and made a man cave down there, trains, workshop, all kinds of crazy stuff
In a condo.
in a condo. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that's going
On
to
the
go over big
ground
with the
floor of it.
association.
So, just for the story, what we've had to go through with the HOA, with foundation experts, with clean out crews, with all kinds of stuff. We looked at this as just being sold to a flipper, and flippers wouldn't touch it. So the estate went ahead and spent the money, and we really haven't spent that much money, but we're getting close to putting it on the market this February. And we're down to, we've repaired the hole in the floor and the staircase that he put in. We've repaired the floor. We've cleaned out the man cave. We have had a foundation expert out there, an electrical expert out there. And the last thing to do is to just shore up the piers underneath the condo and paint the home and condo. We're going to put on the market, and she's going to make about $200,000 extra versus going to a flipper, in the case of just helping her go through all this work. So, just as an example to everybody else out there, these probate things can get crazy, because when people end up in probate, they typically don't take very good care of their properties, and they end up with a lot of craziness. But it's definitely going to be one for my book, and one for the history books, and for me to talk about when I'm out on new listing appointments of just the ends of the earth that we'll go through to help people sell their property.
It's funny when you talk about these things, you can always tell somebody who's really a probate real estate professional versus somebody who's just looking for a deal. Because like you, when I talk about these problems, I feel like I'm bragging. I kind of want to brag, but I don't want to brag, but I want to share with other people. But the more problems, the more value you created for your customer that you then in turn solved. And that makes you more valuable. And in the long run, I believe whether that customer or others give you business, you get more business. That's just how it works.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And well, I know you say without, but I'm talking kind of the audience here. So just, forgive me a little bit. I'm preaching to the choir, and I don't mean to in a sense, but I do mean to speak to everybody and myself, to remind myself, right before this phone call, I had a client. I'll literally read you the text I just got. In fact, it was on this very similar subject. There's a woman I got a referral for a probate. She's not yet filed. I'm trying to help her get filed. She was contemplating whether she should let in a temporary tenant. I advised against it. She did anyhow. Turns out he was a squatter. It was a big mess. She finally got him out. She needs insurance. She needs to get her paperwork still filed. And she texted me right before, about an hour ago, I could use some help with camera installation. She wants to put a Ring camera on. And her replacement window, the heater isn't working. And then it turns out also these squatters kicked out some doors. My point is, my first reaction, like all of us, is, oh gosh, I'm busy. Those are more problems. I don't want to help. And I had to catch myself and say, no, those are all opportunities, because whoever solves those problems wins and helps the customer, and we get business. So Matt, thanks for sharing all that. Now, can you share with us a little bit? You mentioned a number of different steps that you had to do, clean out and fix up. Do you advance those funds? Do you lend them funds? Do they have the funds in the estate? How did that happen? If you don't mind sharing that with us.
Well, I will advance those funds if needed, but in this particular case, the estate had the money to pay for things, and I'm all about, I've always said to any of my clients, this one in particular is, I want to make money with your money. I don't want to just trade dollars, right? So we go through and do a full analysis of the property, and whether we paint, put in new toilets, paint the kitchen cabinets, put in a new sink, new stove, dishwasher, whatever. It's all about, can we get 2, 3, 4, 5x on our money, right? And so if my clients have the money to do it, they do pay for it. If they don't, I'll loan it to them through escrow and get paid back at the close of escrow.
Nice. And when you say loan it, like I use a special credit card just for that. Do you just out of your own funds? Do you have a business account that you do that from?
I have a business account that I run it all through, right?
Okay. And
then we track it, and we make the client sign off on everything that we're loaning them money on, that they've approved it. and that will be paid back in the close of escrow, so that if I were to have an issue, I've got a paper trail.
Nice. Yeah, and I do something similar. I also send them an invoice. I use PayPal to update the invoice, and they get copies of it, and I wait for them to confirm it and things like that. So very good.
Okay.
So good. This is a good process. Now, obviously, if you don't have money, you can't do that, right? And so for those of you who are saying, well, gee, Bill, I can barely pay the rent. I can barely eat. I can barely feed my kids. How am I going to do that? Then don't. There's something you can build towards. Or,
But you'd be surprised how many vendors will accept payment at the close of escrow.
vendors.
So search out painters, search out electricians, search out the people that will accept payment at the close of escrow.
And I think you have to at least ask, right? Because some will, some won't. Maybe they want to charge a little more. They don't want to discount the price. They'll say, well, I gave you a 25% discount for cash, but if it's, going to be 60 days, I want, whatever. But ask those questions. Ask the attorney. Sometimes they have money in the account. Sometimes, and that's also where the advance comes in. The probate advance is another option. So great. Well, Matt, so now you have this property and it's in escrow or sold, or where are you at in the process again?
No, we're gonna list it February 1st, as soon as the foundation is completed.
Very nice. How exciting. Well,
Yeah, wrapping it up.
so please, when you're done with that, come back and give us a post-mortem with the details. I think
I will.
I think for yourself, you want to look at it, make sure the numbers all pencil out and see, but also at the end, it's also good. And then along the way, do you use this for social media, or do you do videos on this stuff, or is that something that's new for you, or where are you at in that
No,
process?
we do a lot of social media. We do LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and then I send letters out to both probate clients and attorneys with my stories.
Nice.
I write up the stories, send them out, and say, we can do this for your client. We do about I'd say about 20 new probates a year, and we do another 20 to 30 follow-ons from the probates that we did. Probably 60% of my business is a lead that came to me after a probate, because that client used me again, that client referred me somebody else,
Nice.
that sort of thing.
Nice. Good for you. Well, congratulations on all your success in this one in particular. And please come back and share the after story for us, okay?
You bet.
And then feel free, Matt, and anybody else listening, feel free to put your comment. I see some of you already have. This is a national group. And so if you get a referral in another state, another county, another area, we should be working together. So feel free to put here, as well as on the Probate Master Alumni group, as well as my probate group, your name, address, phone number, contact info, and put where you specialize. The biggest mistake I find is people tell me they're going to cover all of, the Southern United States. I appreciate that, but if I'm referring you to somebody, I'm looking for somebody in a particular city. So feel free to put your information in, and love to get you some more business as well. I saw a couple questions. Feel free to raise your hand if you have a question, or just jump in if you have a question. I did see one a ways back. Where are we here? Glad to be here. Thank you. Oh, has anybody ever listed their MLS on the MLS burial plots? Interesting. Stephen Hughes asked the question. I've never seen an MLS. I've never seen a listing in my MLS for burial plots. Interesting. I mean, I can see why you might think you could, or in some areas you might do it, but in my area, I've never seen it done. I'm not saying it can't be, but I don't know that you can. I don't know that fits in California, because a burial plot usually includes other services rather than just the real estate. And I don't think you normally buy the real estate. I think you're buying the rights to bury somebody in a certain spot. But I don't know. If you have any experience, raise your hand or put it in the chat box. Steve's looking for the best way, I think, to dispose of MLS, if possible, on burial plots. And let's see. Next station, Indiana. I don't know what that is. Wow, you get people here on here. One of the beauties of being in real estate is people talk about areas that you don't even know where they are. Okay, who else has a question, comment, victory, defeat, challenge, problem? Larry Smith. I'm sorry, not Larry Smith. The Larry Smith group has his hand up.
Yeah, you got to get that right, Bill.
Sorry. Oh, and it happens to be Larry. I saw the Larry Smith group. I was looking for a group shop. It's you. What's going on, man?
Well, that group is behind me right here.
Okay.
So, small victory, not a small victory. We have, this is a great story for the people that may not know what these so the circumstances was we had a will produced that had been downloaded from the internet. It was not state specific, and it didn't require, it didn't have a lot of the requirements that are generally accepted as good wills in Texas. One of those provisions is a self-proving part of the will, which basically states that you don't need to go chase down the witnesses post signing off as the witness. In this case, we had this is going back to the story from last week, but this is the will was 25 years old. It had 4 witnesses. One was the notary, 3 apparently some type of friends or something. And I had to take that will with limited knowledge I had, and I skip traced all 4 of them. I then sat on the phones all day because the attorney called me and said, we have a court date, but if one of those witnesses cannot show up, we're done, and we're going to get kicked back 3 or 4 months on the calendar.
Wow.
Literally my last number I called, the 4th one picked up. Turns out still in the area. So I was glad for that. I was still glad she was alive. That was a big plus. And talked to her again this morning. She's more than happy to show up at court in 2 weeks.
Wow.
More than happy to be a witness. Didn't ask for anything, was happy to help. So that was a big deal. So why do we ask that people get their wills done and done correctly? Because this right here could have been a big disaster. And this gentleman that is the executor, the survivor, the husband, is not in good health. And I don't want to speak ill of him, but there's a chance that he may not be with us in 3 or 4 months. So that would then complicate this estate even more with 2 out-of-state children that are disinterested and so forth. So it was a big win in that respect because there's a lot of property riding on that for the estate and for myself. So,
well, and I think part of the victory is getting closer to be able to, I guess, get authority and list and sell the property, right? That's part of it. But the attorney called you to do it instead of doing it himself or herself, right?
yeah, he says, I'm snowed, Larry. I have no time to do this. And I go, I told you, if it's not illegal, throw it at me and let me go to work for you. I called him back today and he was thrilled that I had taken that on and I got it secured. So this thing can keep on moving down the road. So it was a big deal for a lot of reasons, but it was just literally a lot of hangups, a lot of bad numbers, and it just piled through the numbers and eventually found someone that could do it. So we truly got lucky.
But here's my point. What was your impact on that attorney versus, say, sending him a piece of mail every week, calling him every week, maybe even inviting him to lunch? What was more valuable, all that or the phone call and you following through and showing him what you're going to do for him?
Yeah, he's pretty blown away that, I'm so resourceful and willing to go above and beyond to service the client. And he was calling me last week and asking me stuff about leases and stuff that he has really no aptitude for, and he wanted some answers to that. And I was able to do that for him. And we're going to do a lot of business together. He's very busy and he's got lots of stuff. So it was great to come through in that respect, because I see it being just part of a continuation of a long-term relationship. So big win there.
But for everybody else, just notice the power of what that does in the relationship. I call that auditioning for the job, right? When somebody calls, I got an email today from an attorney. I closed an escrow a year ago. The client needed things put in storage. So the state paid for, I managed getting a moving company put in storage. I manage getting the storage set up first and last. Every month, for whatever reason, the attorney finds it easier to reimburse me than to pay the storage company. Don't know why. I send him the bill. He says, can you pay it? I reimburse you. I do it. I just click a credit card and it pays, and he reimburses me, goes right back into my account. It takes me about a minute or two. At some point you might say, well, Bill, why would you want to bother doing that every month? I'm thinking, are you crazy? Rather than tell him every month how good I am, right? It's easier for him. I don't even want to take the time to ask him why it's easier for him. If he thinks it's easier, what's the right answer? It's easier, right?
So
For whatever
true.
reason it is. And then today he asked me, can we open the storage and take pictures and get an inventory of what's inside of it? I'm not going to go. I said, yeah, but I have to pay, my staff member. Can I charge, $50 for 2 hours work? Sure. So somebody knows I get paid $50, and my attorney's happy, and the state's paying for it. He's not. He's glad to add that to the storage bill. So here's my point. These are not just, and if it was a new attorney, maybe I would just do it for free. It just depends, right?
Yeah,
Because
no
I have some extra money to invest in my business. This is auditioning for the job in a way that, if you're an actor, I imagine, I don't know, you can go to your agent, you send out a picture, there's different internet stuff. I'm sure they have databases. But when they call you to audition for the job, you're in front of the people who are going to hire you. Here's auditioning for the job. Here's the attorney that you want more business from. When they ask you for help with something, that's auditioning for the job. Way more valuable than marketing you're ever going to do. So congratulations, Larry, and continue on this one. It's fantastic.
So I got another one. Is there any questions? I don't want to hog the time here. So I
go
can
ahead.
come back. I can come back.
No, everybody loves you here, Larry. Keep going.
Okay. Yeah. So I got this. I doubt you'll be able to see that, but I got this postcard in the mail from a local attorney.
Nice.
And I live in a community with a clubhouse, and they came over last Thursday to answer your questions on probate.
Nice.
So you can imagine that was too tempting for me not to go to.
Of course.
So I had my invitation. So I went there and promptly introduced myself to the attorney and set an appointment with him. It was fantastic. And he had asked for some questions, and I threw him a couple of really good curveballs, which he absolutely loved.
Sure.
And it was regarding blended families, which to my shock in this group, there were 60 couples at this 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock on a Thursday afternoon to show up to answer questions about probate, trust, power of attorney. And no one was asking questions about blended families, which I was looking in there. I go, there's got to be a third of them there that have blended families, probably maybe even more. So I asked a couple of blended, family questions. And of course, that really turned it on its ear, because there was a lot of great questions that followed from that. And they came back to me and goes, now tell me now, who are you again? And what do you do? Because he was intrigued. When I met him before, he was like, oh, okay, here's another guy, another real estate guy showing up for my deal. But afterwards, so we had a really good talk. And then I'm gonna, in fact, I got to call him today to set up lunch because he's so busy. He said, I can't go. Can you bring lunch in? I said, how many do I need to bring for? So, a target audience. So that was just really simple. So I just want to tell everyone that is listening, if you get, you look, they're mailing, they're in the newspapers, they're not making it a secret that they're looking for business. This guy is looking for business. He's a young guy, very hungry for business, is working some crazy hours, but he's hungry because he's advertising, obviously, and a great place to just go meet him in a neutral site and start up that relationship. So I'm excited because he's real busy. He's got a lot of clients. So, and he wants more. So I want to help him with that.
That's fantastic. It's really important, and I think you did it, but just for everybody else listening, I've done these in the past with attorneys where I went cold to see their events. It's important that you not be seen as there to take their clients.
Right.
But you're there to learn from them so that you can refer clients to them. Right. And I say to them all the time, I'm a real estate broker who deals with people buying houses, and oddly enough, 80% don't start with a trust, so I know they need your service. I refer people regularly. I actually manage a group of people, a probate group of people asking for questions and referrals. And so once you tell them that, and you don't ever ask them for any business while you're there to help. How can I help? You might suggest afterwards, what I've done is set up an appointment with them and suggest some ways I can help them be more effective. For example, I know from running events, when you call and confirm, people are more likely to show up. Who's making confirmation calls now?
Well, that's a great idea.
Now, if he has a big attendance, maybe he already has a system that's working. Maybe he got lucky. And so you can offer to help. You can offer to fill in for that person. Another one is when people show up, you can ask them questions to help preset or pre-close them on what they're looking for. And if the reason they're looking is because they have property, you can pre-ask the question, well, if you'd like, I can pull, I'm not sure in all states, but I know I have access to public records. So I can pull the deed of the latest deed on their property, so I can bring it with them that shows how it's deeded. So they have a question specifically, they have the information. Also, you might talk to the attorney. A value add, when they do appointments, usually they offer like a free consult. And then when the customer signs up, one of the challenges of attorneys is they set up this great plan, but a plan is like a safe deposit box or a safe box. What am I thinking of? A safe in your house. And a safe in your house is great as long as you put the things in the safe, close the door, and spin the wheel. But if you just pile everything on top of the safe, it's no good. Too many people get plans, but they don't deed the assets into the plan. So in many states, it's not effective. And so one of the things I offer them is I say, if you'd like, I'd be glad to schedule a follow-up, maybe 30 or 60 days later, to check the deed recording, even if the attorney does it, to give them a copy of it as a courtesy. So some different options and ways that you can offer value added to the attorneys. But make sure the most important thing is don't approach them asking for referrals. Approach them how you can create value for their business and be partners with them.
That's well stated again. And yes, that was kind of the talk I just said. I'd like to see how I could be an asset
Nice.
to what you're doing.
Nice.
And would you be open for lunch? And he goes, I can't get out, but I can do something in. Can you call me and set something up? So
Beautiful.
yeah, it worked out great.
Good for you.
I see you got more questions here. I'm going to drop off, Bill. Thanks for
Okay.
taking the questions.
Thanks.
And I'll listen in.
Thanks so much, Larry. I'm sorry, Larry, the Larry Smith Group. Okay, I just love that. That's what his name says. I don't know why. Sorry to keep banging on that one. Okay, Trina Davis says, I'm working with a family as a realtor. They want an unrealistic amount for their deceased father's house. It's really dated, and they don't want to put any money into it. Currently presenting to investors. If we can't land a buyer off market, we will list. I'm struggling to communicate with the family. The house isn't worth what they're wanting. Any suggestions? So, Trina, I don't know if you want to unmute yourself and jump in the call. We could talk a little bit. But this is the classic challenge we have as real estate agents of what I call, there you are, of what I call closing the gap, right? Every seller wants this, and buyers are willing to pay this when we start, almost every time. And we get paid to close that gap, either getting the buyers up as a listing agent. My job is to help coach the buyer's agent and try to negotiate up, and to help my seller be realistic and come down. That's what we get paid to do. Now, in the market, in the past, for the last 2 years, I would say a monkey could sell a house. Why? Because buyers were willing to pay whatever it took. And sellers thought the house was this, it was really worth this, but it was good enough to close the deal. You had sellers who, they thought the house was worth $3, you offered them $350, they were thrilled. Maybe they could have got $360 or $370, but they're ready to close the deal right away. That's different now. We're back to a normal market where there's a gap between what sellers want and buyers want to offer. And our business is closing that gap. In fact, in some ways, this is a tougher market in that in the general economy, business is tougher. We're heading into a recession, maybe, a lot of layoffs and such. But so what happens is that equity, sellers thought the house was worth $500. Now maybe it's gone down to $480, $470. Buyers, might have been willing to pay $450, but rates went up, so it feels like $460 or $480 or $500. And so those gaps are being challenged even more. Also, the equity is more dear to people because if you lose your job, all of a sudden that extra equity becomes important. So we're in a market where our job, it has gotten more challenging. We have to get better at it, and I would say go back to fundamental skills. I caught myself last week. I had a seller, and we took a listing high because it was a probate, kind of had to start high, but I told them we're going to adjust down. But I did not do a good enough job every week updating them. So when I called back after 30 days, I got some pushback from the attorney. Well, why are we cutting the price? I don't know if I'd like to be flippant and say, have you read the news? But really, I said, stop, Bill. You didn't prepare him weekly with the stats. And there was a comp that came out right after we listed that sold for less. It was a better property. So again, this goes back to the fundamentals of our job. And there's no short answer other than our job is to educate sellers and help them understand the real value is what buyers are willing to pay. And our job is to work with buyers agents so willing to bring us the best offer. Does that help a little bit, Trina, or do you have some
It
specific
does.
questions?
No, I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that. That's great feedback. And also I appreciated Joseph's suggestion on an independent appraisal. So that way I've got a little bit more documentation and hard evidence that it's not just my opinion.
Yeah, it's really important that it's never what I think the market is what's the market telling me.
Right, right.
Mike Ferry, one of my coaches along the way, used to say, selling isn't telling, selling is asking questions.
Yeah.
And the classic on the listing presentation is, you'd say, well, based on the market information, what's the market telling you? Based on your listing now at $500,000, what's the market saying about the property based on $500,000? If you do your job properly and help them understand all the data, they will recognize the market is rejecting the price. Mm-hmm. So it's always the price. As long as you're marking it competently, not even well. If it's in the MLS, it has photos, you're making it available to show, your description doesn't discourage people, there's still so little inventory, it really all gets down to price. And when you help the seller discover that, you win. When you tell the seller that, you lose. They hate you.
Right.
They hate you. They totally hate you. It's like your kids, right? Anything you tell your kids, they're going to do the opposite, and they're going to hate you if you make them do it. On their own, they'll come back and say, I should have done this all along. I should have brushed my teeth. It's amazing when you raise kids, how that full circle goes. It's the same exact thing. So you want them to discover it, okay?
Sounds good. Thank you so much for that.
Sure, my pleasure. Richard circled back with the answer on plots and barrel plots in California. Our license doesn't cover it. Correct. So it might be in other states different. I don't know. But certainly in California, we're not licensed to do that. And Joseph says that he resolved it with an independent appraisal. So here's the challenge, I would say, though. I think it's a good idea. But you want the seller to come up with that idea, right? You might ask some questions. Well, how can we establish what the value is? If you don't think this is the right data, what else might you do? Make sure it's an independent appraisal, not your appraiser. Because I've ordered that and had them say, well, you just ordered your guy and he's trying to make your job easier. So be careful when you do an appraisal. Just a mistake I made to help you guys avoid. Contractor due to estimates. Again, all those are great. Getting third parties, a great idea. But again, it has to be their idea. If you say to them, I have a great idea, why don't we get an appraisal? They're going to end up blaming you for it. If you can get them to say, could we order an appraisal? Right? You can ask a question. Mm-hmm. Well, if an independent appraiser, for example, said it was worth 500, then we can present that to a buyer. You might say, well, can we order an appraisal? Oh, what a great idea. I never thought about that. Yeah. But make sure you're not the one telling them to order the appraisal or suggesting it. You got to get them to come up with that idea or get to that point.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You can even say, I've had other customers or other people in our company have been ordered. I was on a mastermind group where somebody suggested ordering appraisal. I don't know if that's what you want to do or not, but it's not me telling you this. This is the market. Mm-hmm. They might say, well, yeah, I'd order an appraisal. What's it cost? I will say I was shocked at how much appraisals cost. Anybody have an idea? What's a regular appraisal for a mortgage cost you market to? Put it in the chat box. I'd be curious to see what your answer is. I got a quote the other day for an appraisal. I was shocked at how much it was. Frank, thanks for sharing your information. Jim wants to ask about approaching an attorney who prepared your will. Jim, love to answer that question. Why don't you unmute yourself and let's chat.
Hi, Bill. Thank you.
Hey, Jim.
The attorney that I've used to do my will and my wife's will and my father-in-law's will is a guy that his practice is limited to wills and estates. And I don't know him very well, but he did a good job for us, I think. And I would like to approach him and use that as kind of the launching point for approaching attorneys for referrals. And I'm not sure quite what to do. How to, since it's probably been a couple, well, maybe 4 or 5 years since I did the will with him. I have more contact with him than that, but not that much more. So I'm not sure what to do.
So I love this question. I love this question. How do I get business from the vendor I do business with? This one happens to be an attorney that you did a will with. So a couple things. First off, you seem like a really nice guy. Does he know you are? I mean, I don't know your particular background, Jim. Maybe we talked before, but for example, have you done the all the leads training? Have you done Chad's training? Have you done the Earn course? Does he know that you have some training in the area, or have you had any training in the area at all?
I've done the probate mastery course.
There you
and
go.
Also
Does
Earn.
does he know that?
No.
See, sometimes we want to blame our neighbor for not listening with us, but if our neighbor doesn't know that look, if they think we're just another realtor in the Rolodex, everybody knows 10 or 20, but if you're the expert in the subject, so you have to take responsibility to position yourself in his mind that you're the expert, that not that he's giving you a lead, that he would be foolish to let his paying customer go to another realtor and get worse service and possibly some litigation problem he has to deal with rather than refer them to you. And he has to get that you're the asset that he has to feed to get more business. That's the goal you want to create. Now, some people just don't get that reciprocal relationship. I'll tell you a quick story about my dentist. I was with this dentist when he started his own practice. I was with him he was at a dental firm, and then he left, opened his practice. Young guy, we knew some friends in the middle. Actually helped him buy a house with his wife, his first house. Years go by, and they bought a bigger house, and he didn't use me. Now, by this time, I'd used him as a dentist for 10 years, 15 years. My wife was a regular there. Unfortunately, we were regular customers, paying a lot of work for dental work. I'd referred my other clients as well. I approached him and said, I'm just curious. I noticed you sold your house and you used this guy. He's like a part-time agent. You've known me for 15 years. I sold you your other house. Why not me? Because I'd done everything to position myself with him. He said, well, I felt sorry for him because he's a friend. And I said, well, I got to tell you something. I pay for my dental work by selling houses. If you don't support me, I mean, I thought I earned it by helping get your first house. Oh, yeah, you were great. Okay, and he's part-time struggling, probably because he's not that good. And maybe you went through and got the house and it all worked out, but maybe this time it worked out, maybe next time it won't. But if you're not going to support my business, I can't support you. And I changed dentists. Now that's because I realized that person was a taker, not a giver. Right? When you realize they're takers, I don't want to do business with them. I don't care how, he wasn't that good a dentist. He was good enough, but for me, it just meant more cleaning. It was always a dental assistant, and it really wasn't that big a deal. So you have to decide, this person, is he a giver or a taker? If he's a giver, or does he give you great service, then you're kind of stuck with him. If he's, a will is a will in my book. If it's more complicated, you have other family members are happy with him, maybe you stay with him despite the fact he doesn't work with you. And then if that's the case, you need to work to get him to want to work with you. Right? So you do an assessment. Is this guy's business worth working for? If it is, then, and you might even ask him that, what would it have to do to be so good that you would want to refer your clients to me because you want to make sure they get the best service possible? What would that take? Maybe like other attorneys, he does a webinar on estate planning and you have to help him market that. Maybe, I don't know, but you might want to ask that question. So there's a couple of things to think about. One is make sure he knows that you're in the business, that you're a professional, that you're trained, that you work in this area all the time. Do you post on social media? Do you put wherever he is? Is he on Facebook? Is he on LinkedIn? Is he on Instagram? Is he on YouTube? Does he see you and know that you're doing this business?
Yeah, I don't do much on social media.
That's the
And
power of it. That is the power of it, because there's a point where nobody in my life can say they don't know I sell real estate. I took that one off the table.
okay.
Right? I mean, if you don't want to see it, fine. You can unsubscribe me and unfollow me and unfriend me. Great. You can do all that if you want. I don't really care, but you can't say I didn't try. And I think you have to at least make your effort. So before you can wonder why he's not using you, he just thinks of you maybe as another realtor. And he might have 50 realtors he's done wills for, or 10 realtors he's done wills for. Why should he use you?
Sure.
I'll bet if he did 50 realtors, you're the only one who is a certified professional probate expert. But he doesn't know that.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I know that, but he doesn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Does it help a little bit?
Yes.
Okay. Good luck.
Thank you.
Always, instead of ask the business is easier, we should always ask that we be better. Okay. Appraisal, I asked for the answer. 800, 550, 500, 550, 650, 650, 6550, 600, 550, 650. Appraisal cost depending on the market area, no doubt. 650 to 850 depending on the area, 6 to 650. So I'm in LA and the property was $1 million. I guess that's a lot. $1,200 for the appraisal. I thought that was a lot. I thought that was a lot of money. Yeah, Terry says you could share an interesting transaction of yours once in a while you're going for dental. I don't know. The thing about that is the dental in particular, I'm kind of in a bad mood when I go to the dentist. That's not where, I'm glad to go. I'm glad to get my teeth fixed and all that. But I don't really want to look at myself as being a salesman while I'm getting my teeth worked on. Bruce Johnson, I see your hand up. Let's bring you in. What's going on?
Yeah, what I wanted to say is that I have a situation right now where the owner of the house died and had a will, and it's leaving it to the house to one heir. But the thing that they didn't correct before they died was who was going to get their pension funds and investment accounts. So it's actually going to someone who they did not want that. That person was not supposed to get anything, and now they're getting most of the estate. So if people are referring their clients to attorneys, make sure that whatever investment accounts, bank accounts, and such and so forth, that they designate who they really want to have on there, because that could become a nightmare down the road. And if there's more family members involved, that can be really, really messy. So,
well, there's two parts that I think you would say. One is, the attorney part, but also when you open an investment account, you're asked to designate a beneficiary. And at least in California, that bypasses probate. So if I put in there, I'm going to give my money to Bruce Johnson, my good friend from the probate calls every week. If and when I pass, hopefully at 120 years old, they go, oh wow, Bruce Johnson gets it all. My wife will go, what? Right? So I think that's the other part is people go and get estate plans done. You need to go in and update all those accounts and make sure that they're consistent. At least that's your plan, and that the money is going to where you want it to go. You can have all the money designated go into an account with a trust, and then it can be divided equally. If not, though, if you name a person, they're going to get it. And that could be good news. You avoid probate. The bad news could be it's the wrong person. So good point, Bruce. Thank you so much.
yeah, sure thing.
Now, hold on. You're in the state of Washington. That's quite a background you have there. I don't know if that's false advertising or not.
Well, it's Waikiki, so I just keep it in mind every time, and that's my goal to get over there a couple of times a year. So I'm actually from there, so
nice.
I make it a point to go there. I've been here for almost 25 years now.
Okay, so I'm going to vote you should have a dark, rainy background until you go to Waikiki, and then when you're Waikiki, call in and change your background so we'll know you're there, okay?
Okay, will do.
Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Okay, let's see here. Okay, so it looks like Rigo says that you just took your probate mastery training Sunday about the EARN program. Great. Very enlightening. But you hang a license with EXP Realty. Very nice. I'm with EXP. In fact, I have a team member in Athens who comes on the call. He's not here today because last night the Bulldogs won the national championship, so he's busy. So good for you. Welcome to EXP. Welcome to the business, and welcome to our call. So Legacy Larry says to Jim that you want to have referrals and build a reciprocal relationship. I find that conversation ineffective because at its core, if that person's a taker, you're not going to get anything. And I think it positions you as, give me something, I'll give you something. I think I want to be positioned with them as so valuable that they're desperate to give me business to stay in my good graces. That's my approach, but I'm not going to say you're wrong, Legacy Larry. I'm just going to say that, Legacy Larry, you changed your name. The Larry Smith Group is now called Legacy Larry. You fooled me there. I missed that. The Giver series, a couple of people in the chat box put that's a good idea. And Trina says she's with the XP. Well, welcome, Trina. Nice to have you here. Okay. We got about 9 minutes left. Any other questions, comments, victories, plans for the year? Make sure you put your contact information in the chat box. Only if you want more business. If you don't want more business, please make sure you don't put your name in there. We don't want to accidentally get you referrals or get you more business and cause any kind of tax problems. Any other, a lot of the XP people here. Ashley Fairley's with the XP in Atlanta. Welcome, Ashley. Amy says a good attorney should make sure all your assets are transferred and the beneficiary designations are complete and mirror your estate plan. She's right. I will say though, Amy, that a small percentage of attorneys actually do that. In my experience, most of them ask you, you give them answers, and they're going to assume that those are correct. And I think that taking the extra step of actually changing all the designations and putting it in one central place is really the best way to go. Legacy transitions. Legacy, Larry, you're just trying to throw me off here. I think you're just trolling me. Okay, good. We got some good contact. Any other questions? I don't see anything. I think we're up to date. Any last minute Hail Marys? So if not, I'll just repeat real quick. Free resources. I get asked all the time, real estate agents, where do I start? And I say it's not a designation. It's not a class. It's not a data set. It's a process. And you need three things. You need a coach, you need a community, and you need a process to follow. The coach in my book is Chad Corbett. This is the community. It's free every Tuesday at noon. We're also starting up a alumni only call. You'll see an announcement on that. But you can get trained at probatemastery.com. You can watch past episodes of this on the podcast. You can also go to the Probate Mastery alumni group if you've taken the class. And if not, there's the estate group as well. And then I'm Bill Gross. I host every week Probate Weekly at Thursdays, 4 p.m. Pacific time, as well as I have a free Facebook group called Probate Experts. Love to have you there. Love to have you participate. Okay, let's see. Somebody's suggesting you take some meds because you have a personality disorder. He has a personality disorder of some sort. I'm not sure what it is. I think we're clear on that. Okay, I think we're good. Oh, Winston's got his hand up. Last question of the day. Winston Covington, what's up?
Hey, Bill, did I see something somewhere that it could be maybe the other coaching, class you do on Thursdays, but Dave Pennell was going to be your guest?
Thursday.
This Thursday.
I'll double check that. I think you're, you know what? I put it in the spreadsheet and my assistant handles it. Yeah, this week on the 12th, which is Thursday, on my Probate Weekly, I have Dave Pennell, who's a graduate of Chad's program, kind of a wild man. He's got all kinds of great marketing ideas, and he'll be the guest in the program.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. And if you can't catch that, you can go to episodes.probateweekly.com for the past episodes, or my YouTube channel is at Bill Gross EXP. You can catch me all there. Thank you, Winston. Thanks for the free plug. Okay, anything else? I think we're good. Everybody, let's have a great week. Let's finish up the month strong. It's the first month of the year. The three things you need, Ben asks me. Ben, I believe to transform, which means to change who you are as a person, to go from a broke person to a successful business person, from a realtor who's starting at zero to one who's closing 10 or 20 deals a year, making a living. I believe to do that, you need three things. Number one, you need a coach. I think in anything in life, you need a coach or a leader, a pastor, a rabbi, somebody who's your leader, who's giving you the vision and is the best example of where you want to go. Everything in my life I've ever had, I swim, I have a swim coach, raising children. My rabbi was an expert on child rearing. And even I can raise a great child with proper teaching. So we want to have a leader. Here in our probate world, it's Chad Corbett is a probate coach at Probate Mastery. He's the founder. Number two, I believe in order to transform, we can't do it on our own. There's nothing here you can't do on your own. You just can't do it on your own. And so while there are a lot of programs and there is a paid program for members for free, you can come every week, Tuesday at noon, 3 p.m. Eastern time, and participate. You can look at the past episodes, hear other people on their struggles, see when Courtney Rollins started out, where he is now, all that in a bag of chips. You can see Larry of the Larry Smith Group, not Legacy Larry, the other one, Larry of the Larry Smith Group, and see where he did his work and as a result got some business. And you see that process of what's possible of people who are just ahead of you and what they've achieved to keep you encouraged all the way through. So number 2 is you need a community, you need a church group, you need a family, you need other people to support you, a team. That's why people do better in team sports. They grow better in those environments. Number 3, you should have a process, a system, a book. If you're religious, the Bible. If you're in real estate, you have to have a system of doing your business and follow that system. And a coach should identify the system. So every great organization has a system or process. If you follow football, the great coach Bill Belichick, though he didn't make the playoffs this year, it was the Patriots system, their way of doing things. There's a right way to do every little detail. So you have to learn those 3 things for yourself, I think, in any area that you transform yourself. Here in our probate world, we have Chad. This community call is free. And then I think Probate Mastery is a great course to help you learn those basics. So I hope that helps. Ben, very good. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great week. We'll see you next week. And then join me if you want Thursday, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, Probate Weekly. And I'll have guest Dave Pinnell. See you guys later.